Thank you very much, Your Majesty Queen Sylvia, Your Royal Highness Princess, Your Eminences, and all distinguished guests. As introduced, I'm Nima Lugangira, Member of Parliament from Tanzania, but I'm also Chair of the African Parliamentary Network on Internet Governance. And I'm really humbled to be here. I need to first sincerely thank the Pontifical Academy of Sciences and the World Childhood Foundation for extending an invitation to myself, because oftentimes parliamentarians tend to miss in these discussions, whilst we are the ones who have the responsibility of creating that legislative enabling environment. But more so, African parliamentarians from the global south even tend to further not be represented. So I sincerely appreciate being given this opportunity. Now, going back to today's agenda, I also wish to take a moment to recognize His Holiness Pope Francis, whom we all pray that his health recovers. In 2023, I had the opportunity to meet him, and he had a meeting with Catholic legislators. And in that meeting, he reminded us that as parliamentarians, as politicians, we always have to remember that our purpose in our roles is to serve public service. And therefore, no matter what we do, we must always hold dear the role of bringing together our Catholic faith and our kind of task or duty on this earth to serve public service. So I think what we are doing here today falls in line with that. It's all about public service and being the voice of the voiceless. So I commend you all for doing that, and that is something that I hope to continue to do. Now, the discussion today hits home to me very dearly because, one, Tanzania, as per the 2022 census, 43% of our population out of 61 million, 43% are under the age of 15. And then approximately 35.5% of our population of 61 million are between the age of 15 to 35. So you can already see how young of a nation Tanzania is, with only about 3.8% being 65 years and older. So this topic here today hits very home to us. And I think a few years ago, 2 years ago, so there was an assessment done about online child exploitation in Tanzania. And we found that 9% of the 12 to 17-year-olds who were online had experienced horrific levels of online abuse. So that goes to show the gravity and the importance of the topic here today. So going to what we've been discussing, I think we can all agree that artificial intelligence has great potential. And it has a potential to accelerate developing countries like Tanzania in the African continent to achieve both social and economic development. And very quickly, I can just give an example. For example, in the agriculture sector, if you want to use fertilizer and to select what type of fertilizer is suitable for which part of the country, artificial intelligence can be of help. When it comes to disaster risk reduction, forecasting floods, etc., artificial intelligence can be important. Health sector as well, telemedicine, and the supply chain of medication, artificial intelligence can also be important, as well as education, just to mention a few. But for us to harness these benefits, I think we all agree that artificial intelligence has to be used in a safe and ethical manner. And we have seen in the last few years, different countries across the globe have been grappling with how to have safe AI. We've seen the UK AI Summit, Paris AI Summit, and many other initiatives. And even ourselves on the African continent, under the Africa Union, we have the AI strategy, which is also trying to guide member states on what we can do towards artificial intelligence. However, all of this is happening in silo. But unfortunately, artificial intelligence and the impacts of artificial intelligence are borderless. There is no border. So we cannot continue to have this discussion in silo, and that is why having such a convening here is very powerful, because it brings people together from different jurisdictions to discuss this issue of artificial intelligence that is cross-border, borderless. And for that, we need to recognize that there are big challenges. For example, technology, gender-based violence, in particular in women in politics. I myself am one of the most abused parliamentarians in Tanzania because I'm active online. And I decided to use my experience to voice the issue of technology, gender-based violence on women in politics. Because oftentimes, people would look at other categories of women, but never women in politics. Because apparently, it comes with our job, we should be able to take that. But the more we get abused, we result into self-censoring, and then it diminishes democracy. So we need to address and remember that women in politics also need to be considered as a critical group that gets victimized. Very quickly, artificial intelligence also has a huge impact on democracy. We've seen countries where there can be an unrest, especially during elections, if one decides to use artificial intelligence to falsify electoral results. And then finally, even with faith, there can be lots of faith issues that can be instigated by artificial intelligence. And now, being mindful of time, I just want to very quickly highlight some of the interventions that I've been trying to champion, and I hope that we can collaborate with you guys here. One, at the Interparliamentary Union, which is a parliament of parliaments, it brings together parliaments from 180 countries. We have passed last year the IPU resolution on artificial intelligence. So it's the impact of artificial intelligence on democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Now, towards implementing that, I think that's an opportunity. All of you can collaborate to support different parliaments in that implementation. And then very quickly as well is, I've been collaborating with Emilio, who's sitting there, to see how can we set up a global alliance of parliamentarians on child rights. This is something to bring parliamentarians from across the world to champion issues of children's rights. And I'm seeing that I need to end, so I'm trying to quickly see what else do I want to say before I get cut off. But I think the most important thing is to making sure that when we're doing these discussions of global north, to include global south. Tech companies, all tech companies are from the global north. Unfortunately, and I have to be very candid here, tech companies don't maintain the same behavior when they're operating in the global south. I'm very sorry, you're going to give me just a few minutes here because this is very critical. For artificial intelligence to operate, you need data. A lot of the data that tech companies are using for the artificial intelligence is being extracted freely and monetized from global south, developing countries like the African continent. When we want to access that data, or our governments want to access that data, we have to pay for that data. Or sometimes the data is monetized in the way in which we don't know how. And also our countries do not get a fair share of that monetization. So if we truly want to discuss ethical and safe use of AI, we must also look at this issue of data monetization. And my final call to action to all of you is, can we find a way to have minimum acceptable standards of artificial intelligence? And this is an area that I want to work on, and I'm hopefully going to be focusing my PhD on that area. Fingers crossed, my professor is there, Virginia. So if you don't see a doctor at the end of my name, please hold Virginia accountable. Thank you very much.